Cloud server. Recording. All right, welcome back, all. Happy Friday morning in my time zone, whatever of day it is where you are. Thank you for being here. You're in the upstream marketing team, working group, all the things under SIG Contributor Experience. As a reminder, everything, including this, is under our code of conduct, which is TLDR, to be kind to each other. And let me know if you need any help on that side. But today we're just gonna keep going through our new format here, and then check in on how that's going. If you wouldn't mind adding your name to the attendee list, that would be awesome. I just sent the link in chat, and I can also share my screen so others can follow along at home and share the right part of my screen so you don't have to see all the messy parts. Excellent. There, there. And see a lot of you editing, but those seeing my screen, do you see the notes? Thumbs up. Fantastic. Cool. So as a reminder, this is week 2 of trying a new format thanks to Lori Apple. She had recommended a shift in, instead of going through the board and listing out everything and touching every single one of the items, we can save ourselves kind of the repetition of that and focus more on whatever needs action based on people's activities. So we'll kind of do it by group and run down these lists. And then get into discussion topics after that. So I've got a couple, including let's be a little meta, talk about this format, and then after that review upcoming content if there's any specifics to go into, see what's going on there. But first, should say, is there anyone new on the line, hasn't been and is open to either writing or speaking and introducing themselves? Sounds good. Okay, then we'll kick it off. Internal comms. That's passing over to Jonas, who's in charge of that one. Any highlights for the group?
Before you hop into that, I was going to suggest that you
please
zoom in on the page.
Oh, thanks.
Just to make it bigger. There you go.
Yeah,
that looks better.
Thanks.
Yep.
So I'll just cover my piece here short. I'm finalizing the multi-channel comms doc. I saw your edits. Thank you, Matt. So I just pushed a new version up. So if you want to review that, I think we're
awesome.
Good to go. And that should be done after that. After that, I'm gonna hand it over to Rajula. Do you want to talk about the communication bot?
So I had a discussion with Jonas about what should be done. I'm working on it. It's been a crazy week. I'll try to finish on the weekend. I'll get it reviewed by Jonas.
Yeah, no worries on the timeline. So if people can follow along. Oh shoot! I just stopped sharing the screen. I know how computers work. Layers on layers. Okay, cool. That was the. Which one was the bot, if people are curious about what's happening there?
It's under to do. It's the bottom one there. So create a bot to push announcements. Scroll up a little.
Yep.
There. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, beauteous. So cool to have you starting in on that. No rush on it. It's been a long week for a lot of people, but it's great to hear. If you want to push any updates, even if they're partial, just like ideas in your head or what you've all talked about, and tag it in here, it'd be great for people to follow along.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that.
Awesome.
Just a quick update. So Rajula is working on setting up a bot for communication through from Slack to different Slack channels and to Twitter right now. We looked at automating directly from the email that is sent over to KDev as well, but we thought we'll start with something a little easier first, and then we can look at automating the rest. So yeah, right now building up a Slack bot, sending it to different channels and to Twitter.
Love it. And yeah, and the topic of multi-channel communication for those that want to play along with the home game there. That starts with this issue. I like pictures, so to show you, we were talking about like there are different categories of needs, and they need to map to a ton of channels. Jonas has been tackling like exactly how we do that, how we classify it. The PR is here, 4679, and is well underway. I just barely reviewed it before this meeting, so there are just a ton of comments. But it's a really great, just kind of clear like categorization of the different types of communication that might come into us, and how we map it from there. Cool. Thanks, Jonas. See,
Okay.
APAC is another topic added here. Who could?
Piyush, I
Yep,
think.
yep.
Piyush, please.
So I guess in the last meeting, I think I don't know where the APEC update should go, but I guess Paris said that you need to put it in internal console of now, so I just put it there. And
Oh, it's
on
perfect.
the update part, so we have an interview dog that we are just setting up to get. So basically, the idea is to have a meet our contributors version of APEC guys, but more in a blog post rather than doing a video chat. So we are setting up the doc, like, and we have bi-weekly meetings. So I would have more update next Friday. Next session.
Fantastic. That's awesome to find out. And if you have any actions for us to help out on here, just definitely bring it up here. It's perfect.
Sure.
Cool. All right, moving on to editorial and storytellers. The TLDR on the short version of editorial is like I've just been very closely shadowing Paris, which has been a lot of stuff I enjoy, which is like how do we organize and how do we communicate as a team and like how do we make sure the sustainability is built in so it's not one person forever. But it is very much like it's also could be considered a bunch of boring documentation for others. So the big one is there's roll books in progress. There's a PR from Paris. I'm doing edits from that and moving forward. If you're interested in that stuff, happy to dig in. But I also think like a lot of people come here to help communicate. So the project management stuff you can follow up in GitHub if you're interested. But I won't take everyone's time to go into it here because it's moving along. I want to I don't know if Kieran, if they were able to make it today.
Yeah, I think Kiran was, I don't see him on the meeting. I think, the update from the storyteller is, I think,
Yep.
the article is in progress from, they moved it to review. And I think so, yeah. I mean, you want to go into that link? Just go ahead there.
Yeah, sure. So as a reminder, yeah, we've got another project board. This is just the editorial flow. And what's nice is we can add comments in here. So if we have a meta article and you're just like quickly writing something, you can plop it down here. I moved Corinne's article over to the review since they've got a hack.md file set up. Sumadrala, did you have other notes on that?
Yeah, I think I haven't checked on that yet, but that's a review in progress. I think the next one would be after a review. Then that would be the next post. We'll be posting it. I mean, after the review and everyone agrees, that will be the next post. And the next one, which I'm working on, the cluster life, that will be the one that will be moving to review this week.
Cool.
So that one, yeah, this week Taylor had it in time, and I was not able to get hold of Kiran too. So maybe this week we'll move it to review once everything is finalized. Cluster life will be moved to review, and then SIG node we haven't got response, and SIG auth we have to set it up time. I think the SIG is responded, but just that we need to set up time on that. So SIG auth will be the next SIG after SIG cluster life cycle. So we have lined up posts for our blogs. So that's the update from my side.
Cool. All right. I'll just add a note on the, you said SIG auth is next, just so we can keep track of them.
Yeah, SIG auth is next. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
want to copy and paste it.
hey, this is Alex Handy. I was put on doing SIG networking as the next, or not next, but like the next one I was working on was an interview with the people in charge of SIG networking to explain like what they do and sort of recruit more members.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, they did not get back to me. I still need to like reach out to that SIG and get them to get back to me because the people listed on the GitHub as in charge of that SIG apparently aren't, and nobody got back to me. So this was the problem I had in the scalability SIG too. Like once we got the right people in the room, everything went perfectly fine. But getting them to reply to my emails and agree on time, difficult.
Cool. Okay. And is anyone getting to the point of like thinking that what's the level of lift on our team on finding stuff versus like abandoning it, moving on for now, and coming back at a later time? Like, any opinions on that so far? I'm just curious.
I mean, generally the way I've done it is like the way I was doing it before. Paris was like, do these guys, and so I was just focused on doing those guys until I got stuff.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Like, it sounds like perseverance is helpful in outreach here, but at the same time, like, you know, if we can be helpful to another team that is more accessible, I think after, I don't know, good old 3-strike rule, like if you can't get in touch for 3 times in a row, like we can move on, try somebody else, and just throw this into the backlog.
Yeah, that's that's what happened for me for the node with the SIG node. For 3 weeks I've been following up, but no one has responded, so I moved to SIG auth. So that's, I mean, yeah, it's just that time. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just finding that I need somebody to be like a liaison with the SIGs because my just wandering into Slack rooms and going, hey, can I interview people? Doesn't do it.
Yeah, but I think what I did was, generally, I went into the communication for the SIGs and then found out the leads and then pinged the leads personally to just see if they can fill out. At least they cannot give the time, but at least they can fill out the docs. I mean, just a Google Doc or something with the questions so that they can fill out at their convenience and then just post it out again saying that the questions are here and the answers are, I mean, if somebody finds time, can you just go ahead and fill it out?
Yeah.
I mean, that might work for some of the other editors, but I prefer to do it over the phone.
Gotcha. So do we have any sort of guidelines of how to do these interviews, or it might be different styles from different people?
It's basically like, what do they have that's interesting? And each one's going to be different, right? Like SIG scalability was all about how difficult it is to be on SIG scalability. Because that's sort of
that was the great topic for them, right? Yeah.
Right. And so there's no way to go in with a set number of questions. And certainly that's just the way I work. I'm not saying this is the editorial, just the way I work.
Oh, no, that's great. I'm definitely not worried about there being like a single template on how to interview, but I think how to get in touch with people is going to be a consistent challenge. And there is no centralized person to do that. Like I'll do Paris is still editor. I'm just shadowing her. Editor is there to help facilitate if something's falling on deaf ears. And I'm happy to whatever. I don't want to use the word escalate. We're not in a company here. We're just trying to reach out to people. But yeah, like happy to take that next step of reaching out to network through Paris and try to get a response for you. But I think ultimately it's hard. So like kind of like a self-monitoring, if you're trying to write something, people aren't getting back to you, move on to the next topic, I think is somewhere needs to get into these practices. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and especially this time, Matt, because the time now was like, I don't know, just now because given the situations outside and the workload for each and every.
Of course.
Yeah, so yeah, it's just that they're taking time to respond, so that's okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. So
yeah. Okay. I'm also finding I have comments on this format already after using it. So
yeah, that is what I want to comment on this format also. But the thing is that
cool.
it is
All right. So we'll get to that in just one moment. Sorry to interrupt, but I just should to at least try to give it a fair go. I want to keep going with kind of, if any, essential updates. The only one on social media is Paris is working on a PR for the very particular situation around social media around KEPs. It's well documented that KEPs are special. The short version is having a bunch of people pile onto a KEP is a very undesirable outcome. It'll slow down development and kind of burn people out that don't need to be. So we have some rules specifically around that. It really comes down to like Paris working with steering committee to get that just right. But it's nothing that I think we need to get into right now. So moving on to discussion topics, let's talk about this format. Since Sumitrala, I'm sorry, what were you going? What are you feeling about this?
Yeah, I thought because when we are updating, when we have more notes to be updated, the page is like, it's like, because we have more columns, and then the page is being extended. So just, I think the format is good, but it's just that we just need to limit of how to point it down as like a bullet points rather than writing it in detail.
Sorry, I don't think I've followed like the good verse challenge there. So are you saying maybe we can break those apart? So what's the benefit and like what is the challenge you're finding?
The benefit with this is it's clear cut that we can clearly see what's being updated, and we'll not read complete to the notes. But the thing is, again, we need to be limiting on writing the points as a bullet point rather than just mentioning everything inside it. Because it's one row or one column. Writing more in one row or one column can extend the table down. So
Right. I see. Yeah, just like the fact that the columns keep pushing down and you're reading just a long vertical text.
It's just that the document is being wasted. The space is being wasted because of one column's update.
Yeah, I kind of had the same thought. Like, the old notes format I think works out better.
So, yeah, I'd say to do my best to empathize with why we're going to test anything at all. It was like we're spending most of these meetings like walking the board and just kind of repeating what all the actions are in progress, and walking the board and repeating them all. It takes the full hour every time, and we're 20 minutes in and we feel like we got past the major highlights. So I'm not trying to play devil's advocate. I'm just trying to empathize with my past self of like, why would we try this at all? And in the past, it seemed like a good idea to do less walking and more productive conversation about what are our pain points and how do we get past them?
Yeah, like I'm all for improvement there. It's just like when you're actually trying to put information in there, it makes it unwieldy.
Oh yeah, I'm fully with you. I'm trying to take notes during this, and I'm like, where the hell do I put the notes? It just makes it look really messy and confusing.
Yeah, I think if we get a good, sorry, this is segueing a little bit, but if we do sort of like what you're doing down there, we'll be able to fix this going forward.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then,
and
please.
This format we thought of getting it only to this one, or the format is going to be across all the 6 and everyone.
I'm not sure. It was presented. Yeah, it was presented in the contributor experience group. Oh, hey, I think Lori's on, so I will stop speaking from my perspective. Maybe you could tag in, Lori.
Hi, I just joined.
Oh, hey.
Hey, Lori.
Perfect timing.
You summoned me. There's universal powers at work.
I love these new powers.
Yeah, congratulations. But I didn't catch the first part of the question.
Oh, all good. There's a little bit of lag, but we can work through it. We're just talking about the new format. It was tried last week. We were trying again this morning. And just the highlights of the why was like, it's going to pass the mic to you on like what was the motivation for the new format? And then we've got a little feedback so far and just thinking about tips to improve it for next time.
Okay, sure. So just for everyone who doesn't know me, I'm a program manager by trade. And so I'm working with teams that sometimes aren't clear on the purpose of the work that they're doing, or the purpose is maybe not fully baked. And so common tenet of Agile is you always work to deliver the highest value, and you don't do anything that isn't delivering any value. So the question why is to break assumptions about perceived value of doing something and to make it clear to the person proposing an idea as well as the group what the objective is. Like, we just don't do things for the heck of it, right? We don't have time, we don't have resources. So asking why puts that into the frame where we're all clear on what the desired outcome should be from the group's perspective. You're always building a product in some sense, whether that's a message or a process or an actual product. And so why is the catalyst for trying to drive focus in any of those activities.
Cool. That's very helpful context. Thanks. Yeah, I'd say like the quick benefits were showing up in just like the speed at which we're working through the major items that are in process, and understanding like, is it what's actionable, like what needs to be discussed in detail and brought up to date versus what is something that we can just move right past and get to whatever topics we have for today. The challenges we're running into, definitely format. The long vertical text in the columns is difficult to read right now. I think it's maybe a question of not knowing where to put longer notes or how to succinctly put notes in such a format.
Mm-hmm.
And then like taking notes during the meeting, I was feeling like I'm not sure where to type them, quite honestly. Yeah, and then the clarity of like who's speaking what item when. I think those are the takeaways I heard from people.
Speaking on which item and when?
Yeah, so for instance, if we're going to talk through like multi-channel communication bot, communication docs, like these things that are issues or topics to discuss, knowing exactly who wrote that down and why it's in this update, it's a little unclear.
Right. Yeah, you can. So, I mean, one alternative is to use something more of like a spreadsheet format. Doesn't have to be a spreadsheet specifically, but some sort of longer table where you would have like the owner and then you would have a note section. I mean, usually this work is done with a Kanban board. If you're pitching an idea that's taking time to do and is multi-stage, then Kanban board would be the suggested approach with comments there. But that can also get a little unwieldy. So usually when I'm doing something like this, it's in a Confluence page with attachments and side links, and maybe JIRAs as well that are connecting. And obviously you don't have all of those features to play with here. So
the other thing that we do is we take our notes and drop them out to Markdown and archive them like generally about once a year. So like possibly breaking out the columns more into a list style format, like the note section there would sort of be the happy medium.
Yeah. Okay. I think we can capture something that will work for us in the given format that we're using, like inserting a table in here. We're just meeting the incongruence of two formats. But I certainly don't have an intention to switch to like a Google Sheets or anything like that. And we have the Kanban boards on the side here. So yeah, we can take the next steps out of, go for it.
Here's a medium as well. Like you could actually, for every day, like every meeting that you're having, you can just the table of contents. The table of contents would be the thing being done. And so you could drop that under you can link to 2 items using tables of contents and also just like heading links inside a Google Doc. So you could actually have like the table just being used for the status report, like who's owning this, what was the deliverable since the previous meeting, what's the status, just basic facts, basic parameters of the to-do. And then you could use a click to a header about that thing for note-taking and additional details. So then you have a table with a high-level view of what we're going to talk about with the notes underneath that are connecting to those items from as they're presented in the table. Is that abstract? Like, am I making sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense
to me. Get a
picture?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you can
okay
always
if
just
not everyone
copy
gets
paste the same. Yeah. Like I can mock it up, but I think if you got it, then there's no need.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That format could work. All right. I think the short version, if we were to get to a conclusion, is that we'll adjust it for next week. Definitely simplify it so everyone can write notes in here. By default, it's not quite the same, but while still getting the essence of why we were shifting it to be efficient with our time and leave more slack for us to discuss what we care about.
I'm happy to help
Perfect.
too. Just reach
Good.
out to me.
All right, we'll do. Thank you. Great. All right. Next item. I just want to check a checkbox right now because that felt satisfying. Cool.
Before we move on,
yeah,
I'd like to provide some feedback as well.
Oh yeah, please, Jonas, go for it.
So I think you hit most of them on the head there. The only thing that I wanted to add in was outcome, essentially. So where do we find the outcome of the discussion?
And what when you say outcome, like the decision being made in the discussion?
If you scroll up, you ask for in the doc there it says what's the outcome you seek? But there's no column for
it. Yeah, there's no answer to it. It's a question in the void. I got you. Cool. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, I would echo what Jonas said, right? I mean, in the earlier format, we had that action item kind of a thing, right? Once you are having a discussion, you had a action item part on that. Okay, this is what is pending on the next person, and then you can discuss it on the next meeting or whatever it is. That can be included as well.
Noted. Good call.
Is there an answer to Jonas's question though? Like, what does outcome mean?
Yeah, please. I don't know if anyone else having
I'm not sure I caught
issues. Yeah, could you repeat
that? I was just, yeah, sure. I was just asking if Jonas's question was answered because I didn't catch the answer.
Oh, so the question was essentially, can we have a column with an outcome? Because right now we have a question.
Yeah, okay, like the action items.
But we don't have a column for the actual outcome. That's it.
Yeah, I got it. Cool.
Yep.
Good deal. Well, thanks again, Lori, for giving us something to work through. It's definitely got us cruising along. Wanted to pivot to editorial updates since back to the value we bring, which is getting messages out to people, and see if anyone else has updates to add. Right now, new to the review is the work from Kieran. There isn't a PR yet. There's just a conversation happening in Slack. Maybe it's a good moment to check. Is anyone kind of monitoring this for editorial review or to help it along? Okay, I'll take the next steps there and maybe just note. Cool. for articles in progress. Sumudrala, you said you've got stuff going along. Trying to think if there's any further updates that we should know, or I think given like we've got the umbrella update and really these are the checkpoints for us to just know if there's something to review or if you're still in progress, which is completely fine. Caslin, how are things going with Windows?
Yeah, before that, I just clicked on the editorial board link in the Google Doc and it seems to be broken. So
Oh, fun.
I guess I could put a comment on there about that, but figured I'd tell you since I'm here.
Yeah. How would it be broken?
Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, while you look at
I'll
that.
check that.
Yeah. So I pinged the SIG Windows Slack channel and gave them a day or two to respond. And it looks like they got back to me yesterday afternoon, which I didn't see then, but I see now. So they gave me a couple of people to talk to. So I will ping them and get moving.
Love it.
Exciting.
Excitement. Yes. If you have if you have any questions, Sumadrala has been the go-to on outreach and hit rates so far. So be sure to hit him up. But let you work in the background. Sorry, Vanguard. I'm terrible. I keep forgetting what your real name is because I just want to say Vanguard or Vanguard. Are you still out there? Take that as a no. Good deal. And then the only things in backlog so far, when things close on Jonas's multi-channel communication, I think that'd make a great article for us to announce, hey, here's something we've accomplished. Like, here's how to communicate. And yeah, Jonas, would you be interested in writing that, or would you want somebody on here to interview you and turn that into an article?
If someone else wants to write it, I'm more than happy to do that. Otherwise, yeah, sure, I can write it up. But yeah, if someone else wants to write it and get their name out there on the blog, that'd be awesome.
Cool. Man, I am loving these lightweight notes in the Kanban board. That way we don't flood a bunch of issues out there with our editorial. Yeah, that's super nice. Same goes for alpha features. There's a request by Only Doyle. I'm like blanking on names today. My brain, long week. Yeah, Taylor said he'd like to get something about alpha features going. Need to check in with him. And info discoverability stories, I think those need further fleshing out from Paris, so they're good to go there. Good. Any other article ideas or people looking for an article that because they would like to write and they don't have anything lined up yet? Nope. Cool. All right. Not walking through the entire board, but just checking in progress to see if there's anything we missed. Nope. KEP guidelines are clear. The SIG profiler ones are in progress by the team and multi-channel is going. Everything else we will leave in the background for now. Holy crap. I think for the first time since I've been hanging out here, we got through our schedule. So that is a huge, our scheduled conversation point. So that's a huge, huge opportunity or very, very cool thing. So it's a good time to say, I think, so I'm not too far away from moving from shadow to editor, which in this context, which is really exciting. Paris has been really encouraging that kind of step into that role, which means there will be a shadow opportunity for editorial, which is kind of the combination of keep things moving along and then also editorial review. If you're interested in those types of tasks, please either speak up now or DM me We will definitely need a shadow soon, and we can learn together because I'm still on the newer side of contributing to Kubernetes. So I find regular things that I am not doing correct just yet, and Bob is incredibly kind to me. So and George has been a huge help too. So thank you both. But that's an opportunity, and I think on top of that, I don't have more items for today. So more just kind of open conversation. Anything on your minds? We could take the time to brainstorm a little bit about, marketing objectives that you're interested in. We have the whole project at our disposal, and I think we're just getting past that point of project management stuff to get started, where we can actually start making a huge impact with their behavior. So I'm excited by that, but I'm very interested in your ideas if anything comes to mind.
So I've got
Go for it.
Yeah. So just an idea on the editorial board there. So
Yeah.
in the notes, you talk about, hey, let's review upcoming calendar for content, and that would mean the community calendar as well, right? So for
Yes. Completely forgot to bring up the thing I wrote down.
yeah, do you want to add in things from the calendar into the editorial board? Is that how you would like to structure it? Because then we can track them on the board, so we don't. So we only go through the calendar once, and then we track them on the board.
Yes. Thank you so much for bringing it up. I forgot it because I thought Paris was going to bring this up today, and I skipped right past it. So Paris had a great idea of like if there's any, it would be very helpful for us to take an eye on what's happening on this week's calendar, because it's basically a roadmap to what we want to communicate internally through you, Jonas, and opportunities to either sit in on SIG meetings that are there so that we can get those interviews, make those connections with people, or just glean some information worth writing. So really trying to understand what our flow would look like. I think I love what you're saying, that like if there's something we want to write about, get that onto the editorial calendar. Like once a week, take a look. If there's something happening there, add it to the calendar for discussion. We can either quickly archive it if we choose not to, or we don't have time, or we can say, hey, somebody is going to show up to this meeting and try to just turn out a first draft that week. But I think so to pause there. So from an editorial standpoint, I think it's a great idea. I'm definitely looking for like volunteers who'd be interested in just that task on, the once a week, early in the week, taking a look at the upcoming meetings and either throwing them on the board or, really just that flow. Look at the meetings, anything of interest, put it on the board for discussion in this meeting on Friday.
I'm just going through the calendar now. And we can work out the workflow later. But the
cool.
Two things that I see for next week is the monthly steering committee meeting, which is happening on Monday. And then we have meet our contributors, which is happening twice on Wednesday at different times for different time zones. So those would be the big ones that I see for next week. Anyone else have anything that they know is going on within the Kubernetes contributor community next week that is big, that should be lifted up?
Great question. It's a no for me. Anyone else?
Not offhand.
That makes me feel more confident about my answer.
All right. So what I'll do then, I can create notes for those two, and then make sure that we send something out. We need to send a ping out. Yeah, exactly. I think it's Friday, and it's May 1st. I have no idea why we're working. The rest of the world is just protesting right now. It's May 1st. It's Workers' Day. We shouldn't be working today.
My international friend. I don't even know the reference, and I'm gonna have to go read up.
Pretty much all of the rest of the world is off today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as this is done, let's do that.
Yeah. So what I'll do, yeah, exactly. It's May Day. What I'll do is I can create two items on the board, and then we'll send out a ping on Monday for the steering committee meeting, and we'll send out a ping for Wednesday for the meet our contributors. So I'll work on those early Monday. Or if someone else wants to write something up on the board, please do that, and I'll just do the messaging portion.
Oh, this is awesome. I think that is a good default. Because yeah, you're definitely running for. I guess now I have Americanism stuck in my head, so I'm like, you're running quarterback when it comes to content. So, what's that?
Is that hand egg the sport?
Hand egg.
All right.
That makes sense.
Not
that
football.
Actually makes
we play football, and this is not football.
Yeah, that's a losing argument on our end. Cool. So yeah, you taking point on that so that you can bring it up here, and I guess it does make sense if we can make that like a standing item where like we can save some time for you to open that up, say like what comms you recommend, and then people can volunteer to be like, oh, I'll join that meeting and interview somebody there. Awesome. I couldn't help but get to the workflow. It's just in my heart of hearts.
You mentioned interviewing people at these meetings. Do you want to create content around like what happens at the meetings, or?
I think that's the opportunity. Yeah. I'm thinking I kind of come from a philosophy that everything is a potentially interesting content. And I think, a lot of people might be interested in how the steering committee works without actually having time or interest in attending. So I haven't really, I don't know if I talked to Paris about this or if I just made it up, but if that is the case, it would be interesting to have somebody listen in, take some notes, and kind of editorialize like what they heard, what it's like for the steering committee to function, and with the call to action being whatever we're trying to drive toward, like whether it's participation, it's interest in it, it's acknowledgement or knowledge of like where to look for notes for those interested. I think that's a real opportunity that if we're ever feeling light on content or just maybe a little stale on the assignments we have, just joining a meeting, writing something quick and getting a draft out there is a really great way to unblock writer's block, I found for myself. I do that at work when I just like, I'm not going to finish that article. I'm just going to do something real quick and fun and listen to a podcast and then write it up. That kind of thing. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, for sure. And we're still in like we're not in demand mode. So I'm trying to think of like, how can we get some groundswell of people knowing we exist? And I think it's by going to them, writing interesting things, and then they'll see, oh, actually, will you come to the next one too? Trying to go from like us being the outbound to it being inbound interest eventually. I think Jonas is going to be a huge help there because people see these messages going out. They're like, ooh, will you send my message too? So I'm thinking about the same cycle for editorial. Good. I think that covers the bases on my end. I think to the point of action items, like my next action is to review Paris's PR on the handbook and fill in a few gaps on roles, responsibilities, try to be as clear as we can since we just made this all up, make some decisions and get a V1 out there. Anyone else have actions they want to say out loud in case other people might be depending on them?
I was just wondering, are you speaking of the chair handbook or a different handbook?
The handbook for the marketing team.
Okay.
Yeah, great question.
There's other handbooks she's been working on, so. Yeah.
Oh, funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
So many handbooks. Yeah, handbook for these marketing roles. And I'll ping people where it's your role. #Jonas. So you can fill in your own gaps there.
I also had a meeting with Chris Short earlier this week about the Twitter role. He's pretty burned out from doing the Red Hat Summit online thing this week, so he was going to be taking some time to relax and recharge for a little bit. So he was asking me to help out there. So I'm going to be looking into a tool that we could maybe use to review possible tweets from GitHub for posting on the Twitter page. So I'm going to be looking into that. Trying to remember if there were any other notes from that.
Just as an FYI, have not gotten the API key yet. I checked yesterday.
Yeah.
It's so brutal.
We were talking about the role in the handbook, and I think he also mentioned being interested in me helping with defining that as we talk about it. So hoping I can help a little bit there. And
oh, definitely. I will at you in a heartbeat.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for helping out. Yeah, Chris had to produce a lot of content last week, and I think he's like, just give me a weekend. Yeah. I respect that.
Understandable.
Good deal. All right, well, that covers the bases. I think I didn't give them enough of a heads up, but I'm going to do it anyway. Of Bob, we're a working group under SIG contributor experience. Are there any highlights from Contribex right now that we should note and just stay in sync with if we missed that meeting?
Right now, not so much that I can think of. Hopefully, there'll be a few more things, but I would say by the end of the month.
Yeah, I know you were doing kind of monthly planning and tagging of items, and you asked us to try to do the same. I'm mostly left that to Paris. I'm not sure if
it wasn't. It was milestone for this release cycle. So one big thing is that the release cycle has been extended. It is no longer a quarter. It is 4 months. If you saw on the KDev mailing list, this is mostly just everyone is, very sort of overwhelmed right now. And we're expecting this release in general to be a lot less features and pushing people to focus more on stability in that regard. And because of this release being pushed back for an additional month, there will only be 3 releases this year. Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent.
No, that's exactly what I was hoping for. Just make sure we're staying at least aware of what's happening in the world. Good. That covers it.
I will hopefully have the contributor site. It should be in a happy state before being able to potentially, have blog posts and push more stuff by end of next week.
Oh wow, that's exciting. Keep us posted on that. I think understanding where we can publish to, by default, I think we're just looking at Kubernetes.io blog, of course. But if we can have I'm happy to think about the system when it comes to either multiple artifacts or single artifacts to different places. That patterning would be good to think through.
And we can, it's, close while this is over, so we can talk about that another time.
Love it. Good. Well, that covers it on this end, everybody. Thanks so much for joining. Hope you have a wonderful Friday, a good May Day. If you're celebrating, go protest something, or just enjoy the day off if you have it. Thanks again.
No, maybe don't protest. There's a lot of protests in the US, so maybe. Sure. Never mind.
Oh, yeah, good call.
Watch your protest, maybe.
Protest
potentially with safe distances.
Socially safe protests.
But also some of the manners of protesting popping up right now are a little creative.
Yeah, I should be less flippant and more just be kind to yourselves and each other. Please and thank you. Cool. Have a good weekend. Thanks for joining. See you next time.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.